We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph in Meseches Yevamos. This is Yevamos Daf 73a. On the previous summit, the Gemara said that a Tvul Yom is kosher when it comes to Para Aduma, and the Gemara now brings the pasuk that is the source for this. The pasuk says V'hiza HaTahor Al HaTameh. It says that the Tahor person is going to sprinkle, talking about the mechatos of the Para Aduma, sprinkles it on the person who's Tameh. And so the Gemara says Tahor Michlal Shehu Tameh. From the fact that it says the person is Tahor, that implies that he was Tameh. Limed Al Tvul Yom Shekasher B'Para. This pasuk teaches us that a Tvul Yom, meaning somebody who immersed in the mikveh that day but did not wait for nightfall, that person at that point in time is still kosher to deal with the Para Aduma. Rashi over here says HaTahor Shetiharti Loch Kan Michlal Shu Tameh L'Davar Acher. It sounds like he's tar here, but he's tamei for something else, and it means to say it could go in Tvul Yom shetamei l'truma. For example, a Tvul Yom, he's tamei in some regards, and he's tar in some regards. So he's tamei when it comes to truma, but he's tar in regards to the Para Aduma, like we're saying over here. These agadaytach tahar mamish. Now, if you think the pasuk means somebody who is completely tahar, so lishto kramine, the pasuk should just be silent. V'anoyadana the tamei aser b'par. Of course, I would know that someone who's tamei can't deal with Para Aduma. To hachatos kirya rechmona, because Para Aduma is called a chatos. Elamai tahar called. Obviously, the word tahar means he's just somewhat tahar. The eshkechon tvul yom the mikri tahar. We do find that a tvul yom is called tahar. Dechsiv v'rachatz b'mayim v'tahar. That's what it says in the pasuk. He immerses in the water and he becomes pure. And the Gemara continues. Ba'ominei me'Rav Sheshes. They asked Rav Sheshes the following question. Orel mahu b'maiser. What's the halacha? What is the status of an orel, somebody who's uncircumcised, when it comes to maiser? And the Gemara says, Ki heichi di yolef pesach mi maiser le'inyan aninus. Just like we learn Pesach from maiser when it comes to onein, referring to the carbon Pesach, we learn that from maiser. So yolef na mi maiser mi pesach le'inyan arelus. Maybe we should learn the other way around. That just like an orel is no good for a carbon Pesach, so too for maiser, an orel cannot have maiser. Odilmor, maybe chomer mikal yolef. We can learn something strict from something that is more lenient, meaning we can learn Pesach from maiser. Kal me chomer lo yolef, but we can't learn something lenient from something that is more strict. Rashi over here says, Aninos gabe maiser ksiv. So Aninos is written by maiser. It says that the person didn't take it when he was an onein. Velo Pesach, it's not written by Karban Pesach. Uminei alfinan. So therefore we learn now Karban Pesach from maiser. And we should note over here that the question of the Gemara is specifically with regards to maiser sheni, and it is specifically with regards to eating maiser sheni. Can an uncircumcised person, can an orel eat maiser sheni? And so the Gemara continues, Amar lahu, so he said back to them, that's Rav Sheshes responded as follows. Tani Suha, we learn the answer to this question from a Mishnah. This is a Mishnah, Meseches Chala. The Mishnah says, HaTruma v'habikurim chayavim alei misa v'chomesh. When it comes to Truma and Bikurim, a person is chayav misa and chayav v'chomesh, v'asur and lazarim, and they are forbidden for people who are not Kohanim, v'hei nichse Kohen, and they belong, they're the property of the Kohen, v'olin be'echerumeya, and they're bottle if you have 1 in 100, u'tu'unin rechitzas yadayim, and they require that you have to wash the hands, v'harav shemesh, and they require that the sun should go down. Hare elu betruma, these halachas all apply to truma uva bikurim, and they apply to bikurim. Masha ein kain b'maiser, but these halachas do not apply to maiser. We'll take a look at Rashi over here. Misa means to say tamei ha'ochlo. Let's say a tamei person eats the truma or the bikurim. Kedechsivu meisu bo ki yechalalu. That's written by truma. Uvikurim ketruma, and bikurim is the same as truma. Di'amar maru trumas yodecha elu habikurim, because the master said that the phrase trumas yodecha refers to bikurim. So that's in terms of the chi of misa. And v'chomesh, what's the halach of chomesh? Zar ha'ochlan b'shogeg. Let's say a zar, for example, eats truma b'shogeg, so he has to pay back the amount that he ate plus a chomesh, plus a fifth. Aval b'maiser sheni lo, but when it comes to maiser sheni, it's not the case. D'hazarim achli le ve'ein chomesh ela b'podas maisro. It's not true by maiser sheni, because by maiser sheni even non-kohanim eat it. And the halacha is that when it comes to a chomesh, only when the person redeems his maiser is there an idea of paying a chomesh, but to eat the maiser sheni b'shogeg, there's no halacha of a chomesh. And then it said also v'hein nichse kohen. Also, first it said they're usher to non-kohanim truma bikurim, and then it said also that the truma bikurim are the property of the kohen. What does that mean? Lekadesh ben esa'isha means, let's say the kohen wants to use it for kiddushin, to betroth the woman. V'likach ben avodim v'karkos, or use it to purchase avodim or karka. U'behem atmeya avol maiser lo nitan ela la'achila u'shasiya v'sicha. However, when it comes to maiser sheni, you can't use it as your own property. You can only use it to eat it, to drink it, to use it as oil, to put on the person's body. Ve'nisha miskadeshes, but also you cannot use it for kiddushin. Ustam Mishnah Rabbi Meir, and Rashi over here explains this Mishnah, which is a Stam Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Meir. The Amar Meiser Mammon Gavohu. Rabbi Meir says the Meiser really is Mammon that belongs to the heavens, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'afagav dekulahu lagav truma bikurim. Now, even though this really is a leniency by truma and bikurim, because we're saying you're allowed to use it for kiddushin, afilu achi chashav le. Nevertheless, it's mentioned in the Mishnah, even though everything else in the Mishnah seems to be a chumrah. V'achinami amrin b'bab mitzia perakazav dekulu. This is actually said in Bab Mitzia. It notes over there that this, among the list, this is the one that is a leniency. And then it also said in the Mishnah that it's batal ve'echad umeya, 1 in 100. Aval meiser batal barov. When it comes to meiser, that would be batal in a majority. V'lo boy echad umeya. You don't need 100 times the amount in order to be mevatal it. And then it said u'te'unin rechitzas yadayim. You need to wash hands when it comes to truma bikurim. Afilu hein peiros, even by fruit. The stam yadayim shnios hein midrabanan. The idea over here is that we consider hands to be shnios, meaning they're a sheni of tuma. Uposlos is a truma that makes truma puzzle as a shlishi. Aval meiser v'chulin kaimol and hanot al yadav lepeiros hareza migase haruach. But on the other hand, when it comes to meiser, when it comes to chulin, we say on the contrary, if a person does natilas yadayim for peiros in that regard, that's considered to be arrogance. And finally, the Mishnah said that they require v'harav shemesh k'di alfinon b'hai pirka, like we learned in this parak. Tvul yom mutter b'meiser v'aser b'truma. We just said that above also. A tvul yom is mutter when it comes to meiser and is aser when it comes to truma. And so that's the idea, the halacha of tvul yom, that truma and bikurim require harav shemesh. And so the Gemara now continues, v'im isa. Now, if it is really true, as Rashi over here says, v'im isa dekal mechamer lo yolef. If it's true that we don't learn the more lenient thing from the stricter thing, mutter oral b'meiser, meaning to say that an oral would actually be mutter and meiser. If that actually is true, that an oral is mutter and meiser, so then we really have a question on this Mishnah. If it's really true, nisni oral aser bahen masha'in kain b'meiser, there's another thing you could add to the list. An oral is going to be aser by truma and bikurim, but it's going to be mutter by meiser. So it seems to be not that way. It seems to be that an oral actually is aser and meiser as well. And so the Gemara says, no, Tana v'shayir, it could be the Mishnah had a whole list of things, but they left off things. In other words, it could be that when it comes to meiser, an oral is actually mutter and meiser, and that could have been in the list of items in the Mishnah, but we left it off. And so the Gemara asks, my shayir d'hai shayir, but what else was left off that we should say that this was left off? You can't just have one thing left off and nothing else. And so the Gemara answers, shayir d'katani seifa, the Mishnah leaves off something in the seifa. The Mishnah goes on to say, yesh b'meiser uva bikurim, there are halachas by meiser sheni and bikurim, masha'en came b'truma, and those halachas do not exist by truma. And the Mishnah says, shahameiser v'habikurim tu'unin havu asmakum, when it comes to meiser sheni and bikurim, it's a requirement to bring them to Yerushalayim, u'tu'unin vida, and also they require a declaration in the 4th and the 7th year of the Shemitah cycle. By Pesach time, you have to declare that you've eradicated these items from the home. V'aser la'onen, and also they're forbidden to an onen. V'Rabbi Shimon mater, Rabbi Shimon says by bikurim is mutter for an onen. V'chayavin bebiur, and they're chayav in biur. Again, also talking in the 4th and 7th year of the Shemitah cycle by Pesach time, you have to do biur, you have to eradicate them from the home. V'Rabbi Shimon poter, and again, Rabbi Shimon says poter by bikurim when it comes to biur. And so now the Gemara says, v'ilu, and whereas aser levar mehen betumah, it's forbidden to burn them, to consume them when they are tameh, talking about meiser sheni and bikurim. Again, this is going to be something that is left off from this list, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Beis.